Now, what if your car stopped working and you couldn't buy a new one because manufacturers can't get their hands on a teeny tiny but tremendously important component needed for the vehicle to function? Well, that's been a real problem around the world due to shortages in microchips, also called semiconductors. It has also caused a major security headache for governments, with microchips being crucial for transport networks and defense systems. Now the European Union has struck a deal that would boost production of semiconductors and help the EU break its reliance on suppliers in other countries. Prior shortages were largely attributed to supply issues linked to COVID-19. Factories in Taiwan and China making the chips have reopened, but the backlog remains significant. And Bernd Rieger joins me now from Brussels for more. Bernd, first up, why are semiconductors and an increased domestic production so important for the EU?
Well, microchips or semiconductors are an essential commodity for the digitalized economy in Europe and all over the world. It's as essential as water, electric power, you name it. And so the EU has the feeling that the supply of these semiconductors has to be guaranteed, and that's why they want to produce more semiconductors here in Europe. Especially during the corona crisis, there was this experience with broken supply chains from Asia. And also the Russian war against Ukraine is boosting this feeling that you have to be independent from other world regions to have the essential things you need to produce, to work and to live. And that's why this program is now underway. 53 billion euros are in the making for public and private investment to boost the production in Europe over the next 8 years.
The EU wants to take a 20% share of the global market in chips by 2030. How realistic is that?
Well, it's ambitious, to say the least. If you look at the numbers, 20% market share in 2030 means you have to quadruple the production in Europe, because the demand is also doubling in the next 8 years. Now Europe stands at 8% market share in the world, and to reach 20 you have to make it fourfold. The United States have 12%, and the rest actually comes from Asia. Almost 60% from Taiwan, the rest from South Korea, also very important, and China. So to have a market share that is essential is very difficult for the Europeans, and you also have to decide what semiconductors you want to produce. Do you want to produce high-edge, high-performance conductors, which are, for example, built into iPhones? Does that make sense to do that in Europe, because the iPhones will still be assembled in China and elsewhere? Or is it better to produce easier or simpler chips that are used in the European car industry? So these are things that have to be worked out, and Europe will also invest in research and development, because there the share is much higher. 40% of the research and the development of these conductors is actually done in Europe already. So this is also a field where this program shall boost output.
Yeah, and you need skilled labor, right? You need people to work in those factories. And this is promising to be an uphill battle, as you describe it. How united is the EU in this? There tends to be difference of opinion when it comes to big investments.
Well, overall, you have to say that all 27 member states want this program. They want this CHIPS Act, but of course there are also competitors for this. Everybody wants a slice of this cake. Most of the money will go, of course, to Germany, France, Netherlands, and other leading countries who have already big companies, little Silicon Valleys in their regions, and the eastern countries will not get that much money, and this, of course, is a point of tension within the EU.
Bernd Rieger in Brussels, thank you so much.